Good evening. Welcome to Friendship Baptist Church. Just going to give you a quick update tonight. I just realized I'm wearing this suit jacket. I'm actually going to be double recording tonight. I'm going to be recording a message for another church family after this. But tonight's update ought to be fairly brief. Again, it is pre-recorded. I know you'll be seeing this on Friday evening, May the 1st. So if there's any late breaking news on Friday that I don't announce, whatever, you'll understand why that is. Just want to touch base real quickly to our church family on some quick announcements. We brought this up in our Wednesday evening meeting, Silver State Youth Camp. Those of you teens who have gone there or were planning on going this year, contact Miss Lisa Spray. She can tell you the details about that. That is in July. At this time, that is still scheduled going forward. We are still scheduled for Triple S, and we will be updating later. We know that there's still details to be worked out, and you'll know as soon as we know some things about that. Now, let me just talk to you real quickly about some other practical things as far as what our church has. If you have birthdays or anniversaries, please get those in to me or Miss Stanley, Miss Lisa, Brother George, someone in the next 48 hours, and we'll be able to announce those on Sunday morning. Also want to give you this reminder for Miss Laura Beth Prott, her wedding coming up. I'll just, if some of you need this, whoops, hold it up there, Pastor. This is where you can, if you have a card or something that you would like to mail and be a blessing, just share it in care of Brother Tony and Miss Jill, and they'll be going down there for the wedding. Obviously, because of the virus, COVID-19 situation, it'll be a small, much smaller affair than it would have been, and I know that'll be a blessing, and I know Joshua and Joshua Grover and Laura Beth will appreciate that and keep praying for them. Other announcements. I want to remind you, and this is just going to be a brief update tonight, but I want to remind you that we're still planning, Lord willing, 10:45, Sunday, May 10th, praying for good weather to meet outdoors in a tent. As we get into the latter part of next week, especially a week from today, May 1st, we will be giving you some clear specifics about how you arrive and when you arrive, and we really need everybody to be on board and to be a blessing that day. It would be a blessing if you'd be here on time. 10:45, remember that, 10:45. We'll have some parking lot attendants. We will have some attendants at the doors, like if somebody needs to go to the restroom. We're going to try to have everything possible in place to be safe and to make a good, hopefully, impression, and not only in appearance, but in a practical way for our church family and for our community in getting back together. We're going to need some volunteers. I know some of you men volunteer, help us with parking during the conference. If you would be willing to volunteer, please get in touch. Our Brother Robert Graham is going to be one of our main men with that. You can get in touch with here, Miss Lisa. Brother George, just say, hey, I'd be glad to be one of the men on that. We're going to need a few ladies to help us with the ladies' restrooms as far as keeping everything up to date in there. And likewise with the men and with our seating arrangements. It'd be a great blessing if some of you young men obviously could be here early to give your pastor, Brother George, and others of us help in seating. We're going to, obviously require, suggest, implore, beg you, tell you, sit together as families. We do that anyway, for the most part here, but sit together as families. And I'm grateful and thankful that as far as we know, that small children, little children, probably is least affected by the virus, and hopefully don't spread it either. But please keep your little ones there under control. We're going to be working out various details about just how we arrange everything. We'll just have that one service that Sunday. We'll not have a meal on that Sunday. Then we're going to turn around, Lord willing, weather permitting, and have a graduation service on May 12th. Again, we will talk more about that actually on Mother's Day during that service, but we'll have some details to work out. We know there'll be more guests here during that time, and we want to take care of our guests. We want to especially protect, not just in that first service back, but every service going forward. We especially want to protect our aged saints. We want to take good care of them. I had somebody today, it's not even a member of our church. It's an older person, I believe they're nearly 70. inquire about coming. And sure, we want them to be able to come, but we also want to keep them very, very safe, and we'll be doing that. So we'll be talking to you about more of these details in the days to come. I shared last night that we get a lot of information from a lot of different sources that deal with churches and church families on not just the coronavirus, but just in practical matters. Our insurance carrier, legal things that we have to think about in meeting indoors, outdoors, and there's just a lot that goes into it. One thing we received from the National Center for Life and Liberty, again, that this is a law firm. They defend Christians, churches, and liberties. It says COVID-19 cloth face coverings in public. And basically it's just asking, are you required to wear a cloth covering in public? I don't think that's going to be a requirement to be outside. It's not a requirement in our state even for us to meet inside. I don't think it's a bad idea for some, especially that might have compromised immune systems or whatever. But there's going to be a lot of give and take. And there was an article caught my eye, and I'll just say real quickly before I get to this one particular article here that my wife and I were out making some visits this afternoon, and we were able to catch most of our governor's update between two visits. The numbers as far as positive cases here in Arkansas continues to either be at a plateau or maybe a slight decline. We are grateful for that. I think it's 61, I believe. My wife's sitting over here on my left, or my right rather. I think it's 61 on total deaths as of today. And now this is on Thursday. I don't know what it'll be by the time you see this on Friday evening, May 1st. Anyway, it looks like things are doing well. The distancing and the precautions have helped stop the spread, or at least limit it. I did hear today that Sharp County has 6 positives. I believe Fulton County's 1. Independence, Lawrence, Randolph counties around us, quite a few more, and then some of the counties in Missouri as well. An article caught my eye today in the Atlantic, a national publication. Why is the coronavirus so confusing? And it was very lengthy. It was very in-depth. And I'm not going to even read you from it. I'm just going to read you 8 different topics that they dealt with on it. First of all, just the virus itself. Obviously, you've heard it called the novel coronavirus. With novel just simply means new. This particular virus is obviously new as far as infecting human beings, because you can see what it's caused. And then the disease itself. What the article pointed out is that actually coronavirus and COVID-19 is the disease, and how that the virus and the disease are different, and how the disease affects different people in different ways. There's still medically no explanation for some of the individuals that have contracted COVID-19 and their medical outcomes. And we know that a great many of those, especially those that have died, there's comorbidities in most of these, things like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart issues. Of course, many of your elderly and aged, you've got a number of things. Obesity seems to be, especially morbid obesity, seems to be something there. But there's still so much about the disease and its effects and its lingering effects and its after effects on people. The research. You got doctors and medical teams and scientists researching all over the world, including the United States. Some of them are actually in a competitive research. They're trying to accelerate a vaccine that would work for this. And then you have the experts, and aren't we all experts in it now? I know many of us, we talk about that. I used that example last night of the 2 doctors there in California that gave a very good presentation on YouTube. And I'm not here to dispute what they presented, because I'm not a doctor, but I was simply trying to show you some information. I guess the time you see this, it would have been on Wednesday night. But I'm trying to share with you information that there's others, experts, that see it totally different. And so that is part of the confusion. You have professional people, and we're not saying that they're all making their prognostications, or they're not making their conjectures out of malice or ill will. Some of them are going to be wrong. Some may be spot on, and I'm sure when the dust all clears, we'll look back and say, "Boy, so and so they nailed this from the beginning." And this one, we thought this person or this group we thought they knew everything, really had a handle on it, and realized maybe they didn't. So there's that. And then the messaging, obviously, the messaging about it has been confusing. You get different messaging from political leaders than you get from medical officials and public health and safety officials and business officials. Business people want to be back working, obviously. And then just the information itself. One of the things I think we shared early on in our updates was that the information is not always, it's not always there to be perfect or perfectly accurate, but it's there to be informative. And I think some have extrapolated information out. For instance, there's this out of Washington, D.C. Think tank or whatever that's been, their projections have been used in all 50 states. Presidents alluded to them. And you remember the dire worst case scenario was 2.2 million deaths. And we look around now, and I think we're between 50 and 60,000 deaths. Maybe it's 60,000, I'm not sure. But people are going to say, well, man, that's nowhere near 2.2 million. That 2.2 million, that was way off. But remember that 2.2 million was if there was nothing done to mitigate. And all 50 states have taken steps to mitigate. They've taken different measures and different levels. So we can say, as we said early on, it's impossible to know how much community spread has been avoided by social distancing and not meeting and not going out to eat at restaurants, things like this. And then just the sheer numbers. Again, I have read and seen headlines that talk about that COVID-19 deaths are vastly overreported. I've seen the cartoon of the guy jumping out of the airplane with no parachute, and it said he died of COVID-19. But I've also read people that have said COVID-19 deaths are vastly underreported. I'm simply saying the numbers, I'm not a statistics numbers guy, but you can come up with all sort of things. And then just the narrative. A lot of people have agendas and whatever. The narrative's different. I think the important thing is, regardless of what we do, as God's children, I shared this the other evening, is that we just keep an extra mile attitude. It's not about us being right or somebody being wrong. If this has to be about somebody being right, somebody being wrong, we've missed the whole point, people. We've totally missed the whole point. It's about us in good faith as God's children being found faithful to what the Lord has given us. I want to close with a challenge this evening. If you don't mind, it's not going to be a message. It's not going to be a message. I don't want to scare you or anything like that. I just want to remind you of Paul's prayer to the Ephesians. We preached through this book last year, and I just want to read from Ephesians chapter 3, if you'll allow me to. I'm going to just start in verse 16, kind of pick it up in Paul's prayer here. He says that he would grant you, speaking of the Lord, that he would grant you, according to the riches of his glory, to be strengthened with might by his Spirit in the inner man. And boy, that's where everything starts. It starts in the inner man. If the inner man is not transformed, the outer man is just phony. If the inner man is transformed, the outer man will be genuine, and what we do for the Lord will be genuine. He says that Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all saints what is the breadth and length and depth and height, and to know the love of Christ which passeth knowledge, that you might be filled with all the fullness of God. Can I say that we are filled with all the fullness of God? Listen, don't laugh. That's what Paul's praying for these Ephesian believers. He said, that's my prayer for you. So if that's his prayer for them, that is a possibility. And it, not only possibility, it should be a probability for a spirit-filled child of God or spirit-filled church. You know, the church today in America has become such a joke, such a laughing stock. The world passes by and looks at us and, what is different about us from them? Other than they seem to be having more fun than we're having. And it's not a matter of fun, it's a matter of faith. When God's people have faith, it's not fun, it's joy. There's joy in serving the Lord. There's a genuine happiness that permeates even the hardest of conditions. And Paul said, now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Unto him be glory in the church by Christ Jesus throughout all ages, world without end. Amen. Now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we think or ask. I pray, my friend, that we will continue to let the Spirit of God live in us, live through us, and that we'll rejoice this Lord's Day together again, and looking forward to soon seeing you all together, gathered in one place, if that's His will. And I believe it is. God bless you and have a good evening.